Hi! So after the last video that Ben and I put out, which was around what is the first thing we do as Agile coaches when we start with a new client or organization, a lot of people then said, and then? Like, what do you do after that? They were curious. And so I thought, okay, let me sit down and try and work out what it is that I do. I think a lot of time I do work a little bit more on intuition, or I've just done this so many times that it just kind of slots in. So it's actually pretty helpful for me to sit down and try and draw out, you know, what is it that I do. So I've come up with a rough engagement framework, and it has 5 steps to it. Although I will say, although I'm calling them steps, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to do these sequentially. Apart from step 1 and 2, which I feel very strongly that these are the order these should happen in, but all the other ones you can move around and you might actually jump back to different steps or stages, maybe that's a better word, activities as you go. Okay, so step 1 is what we mentioned in our last video, which is connect. So you must do relationship first, pay attention to that relationship. Because when you're working with people, partnering with them to bring in change, remembering that change is really hard, even if you want it, if you don't take that time to build that trust, it's pretty much going to be impossible. It's at least not going to be a real sustainable change. It might be just a little veneer on top that you'll see, but ultimately it won't be a real change. So get to know each other as human beings, and also I like to use the trust equation to kind of have a little look at some of my relationships and see if some of them aren't quite there. Am I not hitting one of these variables? So just to quickly take you through that, trust equals authenticity. So are you being genuine? Are you being yourself? Are you being guarded or holding yourself back? People tend to be able to sense that, and that might stop bonding. The next is credibility. What evidence do they have that you know what you're talking about? Have you displayed your knowledge? Like, can you talk them through different things? As Agile coaches, for us, that's the different frameworks, that's how people actually work, how people collaborate, how they really change different Agile practices, all those things. And then the other one is reliability. So how quickly do you respond to emails? Do you frequently reschedule meetings? All of these things can affect your reliability. So just to show up and be there for people. But these are also all divided by perception of self-interest. So if people get the idea that, oh, they were just talking to me and being nice to me because they wanted me to do X, that can destroy any trust that people had in you. So having a look at those variables can help you see where you might need to build a little bit of trust, or maybe you need to be more reliable for that person. Anyway, most important foundational step. Okay, step number 2. And I haven't decided whether this is called define or designed, but apparently it definitely begins with a D, but let's go with that for now. And this is where you intentionally define or design your relationship with the people that you're working with. This can be the people that are paying for you, which isn't necessarily the people that you're working with, but I do this with everybody that I'm going to actually be interacting with or having some sort of deliverable for. I bring this from the professional coaching world. There it's called contracting. What it's about is defining what your offer is, what it is that you actually do, how you like to work, finding out how they like to work. I often ask people, have you worked with an Agile coach or a Scrum Master before, to find out what their past experiences have been and what their expectations might be. And most importantly, designing how you're going to give and receive feedback from one another. It's very important as a coach getting feedback, because what works for one team, even on a different day, may not work for them on another day, or it might not work at all for another team. So you must be getting that feedback from, whether this is leaders, whether this is team level, whatever. You must design how you like to give and receive feedback. Step number 3 is observe. This is with your eyes as well as your ears. Just see what is. and without judgment. We're just there to see what is currently working, because some things might be working pretty well for these people and they just want to change things up a little bit. But just pay attention and listen and talk to people. So that define design step, I do if I'm starting with a team, even if it's a leadership team or a delivery team, I will go and I will meet every single team on their own first to connect. Remember, connect with them, define the relationship, and then I will spend time listening to them and talking. Again, that can move. This one is where we can start to move these different steps or stages whenever it suits. But often people, or the systems of people, already know what their problems are. Often you just need to listen to find out, to help them. Then we have visualize. And for me, visualization of a problem or anything just helps. It's got magical powers. And also when you're trying to bring in change, visualizing the problem with people, helping them build it out. So whether you're drawing out their system of work, looking for the wastes, anything like that, or another great tool is using causal loop diagrams. It helps them to discover their issues on their own. So the first step in any change is awareness. And I know you could say, well, if I tell them, then they're aware, but it's not the same. It is not the same as somebody discovering it for themselves. And then you going, okay, yes, here are the things that I could do to help you with that. But they have to feel the ownership of it themselves in order to make that change. It's so much more powerful than just going, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. Which sometimes you can do, but it's best to help them discover it for themselves. Okay, don't want to go into too much depth because this is trying to be a short video. Final step, and again, movable, is goal setting. So sometimes people bring in Agile coaches or Scrum Masters without really knowing exactly what it is that they want. There's like, yes, we want to do that Agile thing that we've heard so much about. We want things to be better. Sometimes they just want things to be better. So it's important to ask, what do you actually want to change? What will things be like in the future if you make that change? What will you see? How will you know that you've been successful? How are we going to measure that? And then when you know what it is that you're driving towards, you can then plan the steps to get there. Because sometimes these might be very large, huge goals that you're going to need to break down. They could be multi-year goals. You want to break them down, and the question is just, what's the first step? What is the very first thing that you would do if that was your end goal? So then you want to plan, and sometimes we need to look and see, is there some new skills that we need to acquire? So say we really want our deployment to be so much faster so we can get feedback, and we have zero test automation, something that's critical to be able to deploy quicker and, well, to deploy safely quickly. That's a big investment. So what's the first step? What new skills do we need? Are there new behaviors for the people involved? And that's a really important part. And who needs to be involved? Especially with behavioral changes, you have to involve the people who need to make the change into the whole process and help them own it as well and make those decisions. Without that, again, not real and lasting change. And then finally, as part of goal setting, you need to build up some accountability. What that looks like, what would be helpful, how to use the coach, hold that accountability. If we're setting up our action plans or our goals that we're talking about, putting deadlines on them, right? Reasonable deadlines, but deadlines so that we have checkpoints, we can come back, we can see how we're doing, we can look at those measurements of success, and then we can feel like we are making progress. So these are my first thoughts on a framework. Let me know what you think, if maybe I should develop it further, give you some more techniques, let me know. Also, if you want to catch up on some of my other videos that I have, check out my YouTube channel, which is Philly the Agile Coach. And yeah, let me know. Talk to you soon. Bye.